Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today in this video, we will be reading the book Thea Stilton and the Star Castaways. So let's start on without any further waiting. So let's start reading our first chapter, Holy String Cheese. When I scampered off the airplane during my last layover before reaching New York City, I had only one thing on my mind, getting home. Oh, pardon me, I haven't introduced myself yet. My name is Thea Stilton, and I am a special correspondent for the Redens Gazette, the most famous newspaper on Mouse Island. I had been on the road for more than a month. I had traveled far and wide across the Gobi Desert in an SUV and on a camel's back. It was a fabulous trip, but very exhausting. While I was waiting for my flight to New Mouse City, I sat down to watch the news. Suddenly, what do you think I saw on the TV? The smiling snouts of the Thea sisters. Holy string cheese with Swiss on top, I exclaimed. It's really them. Colette, Nikki, Pamela, Paulina and Violet. They were all wearing spacesuits, even the usually fashionable Colette. It was clear they were about to leave for a trip to the moon. For the love of sliced cheddar, I cried. I was so excited, I was squeaking out loud. The other rodents in the waiting area all looked at me like the cheese had slipped off my cracker. Pardon me, I muttered. I was so embarrassed. You see, those mice were my students at Mouseford Academy. I could still hardly believe what I was seeing. Since the moment I met Colette, Nikki, Pamela, Paulina and Violet, they have amazed me with their adventures around the world. And now, they were about to blast out of this world on a trip to space. I was excited for them, but I was also a little nervous. So I pulled out my cell phone and called Octavius D. Mouses, the headmaster of Mouseford Academy. He confirmed that it was true. My 5 young friends were headed to the moon. Colette, Nikki, Pamela, Paulina and Violet asked me to tell you that they'll share all the details with you when they return. Of course, that's exactly what they did. So now, dear readers, I can share the most extraordinary adventure of the Thea sisters. Let's move on to the second chapter. Ready for orbit? It all began a month earlier. Professor Mouselda Marble Mouse, the modern languages teacher at Mouseford Academy, had asked Paulina to bring the Thea sisters to meet her in the computer lab. It was 10 at night, a strange hour for such a request. But Professor Marble Mouse had been unusually mysterious, so the mouselets hurried over to meet her. The professor was always looking for new and stimulating projects for her students. Who knew what she had in mind? They say curiosity killed the cat. But this time it might get me too, exclaimed Pam. At that hour, the big lab was almost empty. Only the professor and the headmaster were there, sitting in front of a large computer screen. They were video conferencing with a mouse with thick white whiskers and friendly eyes under bushy eyebrows. Paulina recognized him immediately. That's Napoleon Smith, the billionaire. As soon as he heard those words, Mr. Smith smiled and said hello. Here they are. Finally, the famous Thea sisters. Mouselda had told me wonderful things about you, mouselets. And I have big news for you. You have been selected for a trip to orbit the moon. Colette, Nikki, Pamela, Paulina and Violet felt as if the breath had been knocked out of them. Who? Us? Gasped Violet, looking behind her as if some other rodents might have followed them into the lab. Yes, you, said Professor Marble Mouse, smiling warmly. The mouselets later discovered that she and Napoleon Smith were old friends. He had always held his pal for Mouseford Academy in high esteem, so he turned to her after he'd created a space travel agency. Napoleon Smith began to explain his project. Business mice have been dreaming of this for quite a while. However, I am the only one ready to take tourists in search of excitement to orbit the moon. The first voyagers will depart in a month. The whole world will be talking about it. It will be a fantastic adventure. With a publicity launch that's out of this world, I imagine that this first trip will determine the success of the entire venture. Professor Demarcis put in. That's right, admitted the billionaire. With increasing passion, he continued to explain. That's why I'm one of the world's most famous journalists there. Greta Van Rodenton, Ricky Newsmouse, and Ian Focus. Pamela and Nikki jumped, kissing kangaroo kittens. Nikki exclaimed. She and the other mouselets were devoted readers of the reporting team, Newsmouse and Focus. Ricky Newsmouse's articles were real works of skill and an example for all journalists. This section is about the moon. And as for Ian Focus's photos, they were so beautiful, they often expressed more than words could. College's snout lit up when she heard Greta Van Rodenton's name. Collett was a big fan of the Mouse TV television journalist. But that's not all, continued Napoleon Smith. I also want fresh-snouted young journalists. Rodents full of enthusiasm for an unexpected undertaking like this one to join our expedition up there. A shiver of surprise and excitement went through all 5 Thea sisters. After a moment, Paulina found her squeak again. She stuttered, we are the ones you've chosen? Napoleon Smith clapped his paws. Welcome aboard, mouselings. Clap, clap, clap. Bye-bye. Hope you liked it. We'll read the 3rd and 4th chapters in the next video. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Keep reading. Bye.